One of the very first booths that were set up at New York Toy Fair, and also a little bit of information that leaked beforehand, but I didn't really want to touch on it until we got to see their entire booth and all their product, was that of Super7. And I've talked about Super7 in the past on the podcast, and I love their work. I love everything they do. These are guys that are very passionate about toys and nostalgia and giving us that kind of old school flavor with a lot of their product. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is their brand new scale that they showed here for Optimus Prime, in that of their, I guess the official term for it is the Super Shogun. Now, this is something that if people don't really know the lineage or the history behind what's going on here, they're going to be confused by its size and, more importantly, its price point. So I'll kind of give you a little bit of a history lesson. Back in the late 70s, Mattel did a toy line called Shogun Warriors. And they did something that Hasbro would do a couple years later, and Mattel did this first. Mattel took a whole bunch of different robot lines, most of them from Bandai, with a whole bunch of different histories. Some of them were robots. Heck, they even took some kaiju and Sentai related stuff. And took all these designs, smashed them all together, turned to Marvel, made a comic book with all these different licenses together, and created a series. And no, we're not talking about Daiclon and Microman and all these other things that later on became Transformers. We're talking Shogun Warriors. Shogun Warriors had, just some famous robots to mention from Japanese history: Mazinger, UFO Grandizer, Daimos, a personal favorite of mine, Daigarn Ace, Guy King, I believe. Raiden was in it. Voltage V, and then you have even stuff like, hey, remember live action Japanese Spider-Man? His robot, Leopodon, was in it. Godzilla was in it. Rodan was in it. I could go on and on. I know I'm forgetting somebody, but I could go on and on. And this line was very successful in the late 70s. And the comic book by Marvel went for 2 years. So, anything that gets past that initial 12-issue run, that's considered a success in Marvel's books. And this line made these humongous, they were called jumbos, these humongous, extremely tall 24-inch robot figures that had gimmicks like rocket-firing missiles, launching fists. They had wheels on the bottom of their feet so they could roll. They had all kinds of little gimmicks on them for these late 70s kind of toys. And they were extremely popular. And today, some of those jumbos, even the Godzilla and many of the others of the Shogun Warriors line, go between $200 to $300 to $400 to $500 if they're complete. With the box, oof, that's a whole other animal. So now that I painted that history, years later, now we have Super7, and they want to do a Shogun Warriors inspired kind of line. And just like how Shogun Warriors was just this amalgam of all these different robots from all these different individual cartoons and series under one umbrella as its own continuity, told within the Marvel comic books, they want to bring in Optimus Prime. So we have right here from Studio 7, Super Shogun Optimus Prime. And what does Super Shogun Optimus Prime do? Well, he's 24 inches, just like the old Shogun Warriors. He has a rocket-firing left fist. He comes with his ion blaster. He has rolling wheels on his feet, just like the original. But then we got some cool stuff. His chest opens up and the Matrix is in it. So this is all crazy cool stuff, but here's the caveat. They know the market that they're making this for. And trust me, as someone who's very interested in this as a Shogun Warriors fan, I'm even kind of going like, oh man, I can't pay that. They're asking $350 for these things. And according to them, they're made to order, meaning that there's no set amount of these. If only 10 people ask for these, then only 10 will get made. And I'm very tempted by it. This thing is very gorgeous looking. And they're even offering that despite the fact that this thing is going to be huge, especially in its box, they're offering free shipping within domestic USA. And they'll obviously figure something out for the rest of the world of a more realistic manner. And they're going to start pre-ordering as of today, and they're going to be closing pre-ordering March 31st, 2020. And then after that, whatever was ordered is what orders, and that's what will be in the market, and that is it. $350. And they'll ship out in winter of 2020 to be in all your houses, to be posed next to all your other Shogun Warriors. So I love this idea because it adds Optimus Prime to that already crazy continuity. This was Smash Brothers before it was Smash Brothers. This was, this was Super Robot Wars before there were Super Robot Wars. So this is something that's really crazy, and I really like what they're doing, and I understand the heart and the precedent that Super7 is doing because they're fans of this stuff. But the price, man, that price is brutal. That is a brutal price. $350 as a Transformer fan buys you a lot of stuff. There is a lot of masterpiece toys that have a lot more engineering parts and pieces that $350 could get you instead of this. And I don't want to hate on this because I love what it is, but man, that is pricey. And, the original Shogun Warriors, and again, I don't want to, compare something. It's a different era. It's a different, plastic costs and the cost of manufacturing toys back then. But original Shogun Warriors back in the day would be $29.99 and $78. If you factor in inflation, you're talking at most $80 to $100. And it's like, it's not that. It is not that. It is 3 times and then some that price. I understand, hey, it's a limited run. They're eating the shipping. There's a lot of ways that you could see the argument, but it's very expensive. But I appreciate what they're doing here. I really like the idea. I really like the extra effort. I mean, putting wheels on the bottom of Optimus's feet is just the little details that make it join the Shogun Warrior team. Says everything. Now let's go on a more positive note, because I feel like as much as I'm praising this, I'm also bashing it. But I mean, it looks gorgeous. I can't stress it enough, and they have it on display now, and I still love it. Now let's go into their reaction line. They showed finally their next wave of figures. We discussed some of them in the past, like how we're going to get Alpha Trion and Rumble and Shockwave and Astro Train. But now we got like Wave 3's crew, and we got to see them finally in person in hand. And we got Perceptor, we got Blaster, we got Dirge, we got Blitzwing, and then we get a super-sized, meaning like not crazy huge, but a double-sized reaction figure of Devastator, which is going to come on his own slightly larger packaging. And again, these guys, they're extremely affordable. I bought Wave 1. I am eating these guys up. Like, before they even did Transformer reactions, I was buying reactions of a bunch of their other stuff, whether it be the Rocketeer, their Street Fighter stuff, their Lord of the Light, Jack Kirby stuff. I loved it all. And now they're even doing some Ninja Turtle ones, so I'm kind of aiming at those. Those are very, like, this Super Shogun Optimus Prime, I'm ragging on how expensive that one is, but reaction stuff is very affordable, very well painted, very well sculpted, show accurate, beautiful. I love it. I mean, it's just me. People can have different opinions on it, but I kind of have a very strong nostalgic touch to that, 5 points of articulation kind of design. The old Star Wars, 79 figures by Kenner, and that 5 point of articulation, and that being seen here with these reaction figures too. And I mean, there's so much other stuff. They have their Transformer Halloween buckets that are on display. So we have Optimus and Megatron heads there. We got what else do they there's so much stuff that they're going to be running with the Transformer license. I know that they also have their Super Cyborg stuff on display, but that's not really new to us. It's stuff that we discussed last year, if anything. And they do have plans to do a Super Cyborg Soundwave, so I guess that is kind of news in a sense, but all they have is kind of a mock-up card on display. But this is all great stuff. Super7 is making crazy stuff. If I was rich and I had all the money in the world, I would jump on that Super Shogun Optimus Prime in a heartbeat, because I love what they did here. It'll go next to my Deimos. I have some Shogun Warriors, and Deimos was my man, and love it, love it, love it, love it. Check it out, guys. Super7's website also has some more deeper images and information on it if you want to get some better information about the Optimus 2, and if you're interested in pre-ordering. But yeah, this is crazy. I love it. Let's go into the next stuff. In Toy Fair.